What are you doing?
I don't know.
Are you recording me?
Yeah.
So, our viewers, for the longest time, y'all have been like, the nicest trailer in the park. What does this look like? Because, you know, people think double wides. No, this is a single wide. Front porch and everything. And people are like, what does this actually look like?
Yep.
We're doing a reveal.
You want to count it down?
Y'all want to know what the nicest trailer in the park looks like? Give him a countdown, Curtis. Whoa!
Whoa, come over here.
Give him a countdown, Curtis.
3, 2, 1.
There she is.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go.
That's her right there. That's what we're in every Wednesday night.
nights.
Man, that's where the magic happens. Beautiful, beautiful arrangement we got here. It truly is the nicest trailer
In the park.
in the park. It is the only trailer in this park. But it is the nicest. Well, I don't know what that is. But we could do something in that. The nicest cinder block wall in the woods. I don't know. We ought to put some graffiti on the wall.
No.
What, you're not up for a little bit of vandalism? Vandalism always made my spring mornings a little better.
Hey, but wait, look how blue it is.
It is a beautiful day.
Beautiful day.
Beautiful day. Too bad
The turkeys were gobbling.
Jason missed. See, the thing is, it was a joke, but the viewers will believe it because it's believable. What happened this morning?
Well, we're standing pretty much here. When we get a little hoot and hollering going, you know, try to get the turkeys going, and nothing for the longest time. Then Jonathan's like, I hear something, guys. And we're like,
They don't believe me.
we were like, no, you don't. He's like, I hear something. We're like, no, you don't. Same way. We go into the woods about, I don't know, 40 yards, a little bit further, do some more owl hooting. And then Jonathan's like, I hear it. And he's like, Curse, you hear it? And Curse is like, yeah, I hear it. Yeah, I hear it. Then we actually hear it.
But
Too bad this joker's like 5 counties over.
yeah, not in our area code.
So, not in our area code. So, we go to the property line, give a little hoot and hollering, and we locate Mr. Turkey, Mr. Said Turkey. Him and his women, across the pond,
Yep.
neighbor's property,
Yep.
and we don't have permission to.
Can't get to them.
But, if y'all are watching this podcast, and you own that property,
You know who you are.
You know exactly who you are. We've talked before. You should give us
Please,
permission.
please,
That would be huge.
There's one out there.
please.
Yeah.
And our apologies if anybody was hunting this morning.
Yeah, this man.
But anyway, there was a gobbler and like 3 hens over there tearing it up, but they were just going to chill on the other side of the pond. So,
Yep.
Yeah, can't come
Yep.
across the water.
No.
so that's where we are.
Hey, but we'll be back.
We'll be back.
We'll be back.
Don't you worry.
Better than ever. Stronger than ever. And we're going to actually have an actual turkey hunt.
Yeah.
Maybe this guy will kill one. Maybe. Big if he can hit something. That was a woodpecker. Anyway.
Like, what is he doing?
That's about it.
That's about it. We're going to get breakfast.
Deuces.
Peace. Ladies and gentlemen, Trailer Park Pod, episode 4.
4?
4.
What is that?
Crazy. Who would have thought? All I'm saying is, you know, we're talking about buying the lot next door. Kason
Hey.
finally did it. I
did.
pulled up, and you know what? The trailer's not there anymore. He moved it out, decided he needed more yard space. Trailer park's really growing.
It's because we have the nicest trailer. We're about to have the nicest lot. Is all I'm saying.
Garden space? Are you going to become a gardener?
Did y'all see my plants actually on the porch?
I did see that. I was like, I haven't been here in a while. He's got ferns on the porch.
I have 2 ferns, Azalea? No, not Azalea.
That's like
I'll be honest, I don't know what the other two
or
are.
my grandmother does. Yep.
Man, there's some gray in that beard right there.
There is. Anyways, it's been 2 weeks. Two skipped weeks. So it's been 3 weeks.
Because we had school, or you had school. I did.
I had school.
You also had.
But you had.
I did have school too. My
You were
test.
studying for an engineering test.
And I did too. And then we went turkey hunting.
Then we went turkey hunting.
Instead of recording a pod. How'd that go?
The turkey hunting?
Yeah.
It was great. It was really good.
Did we accomplish anything?
We went to the ski, the 18 acres.
We did.
We heard turkeys,
We did.
multiple turkeys.
We did. All true statements.
I don't know if we saw turkeys.
No, we did not.
Not really. I thought I saw one, but but he's about 500 yards.
Yeah.
across the pond.
Like, oh, I see him over there. Like as a
If I would have
mosquito flies in
binoculars,
front of
he would have been there.
Oh yeah, for sure. But your calling just wasn't good enough to get him to fly the pond.
Well, what it was is the way I was calling.
Oh.
the birds thought I was over there. How good the calls were.
Oh,
Right.
that's what it was. I actually have a video of you calling that that y'all are watching right now. Let us hear it. He started off not bad. That sounded like a dying goose. But I'm sure they can really see your calling skills because it is phenomenal. It's
It's kind of
absolutely
unfair.
phenomenal. It really is. That's why you can't go turkey hunting that much because every turkey in the woods would die.
Yeah.
That's true. We're already struggling with population.
Well, that's why
Right.
that's-
Mason just got to stay out of the woods.
Well, that's why there's not many on that 18 acres. It's so limited.
Yeah.
I'm just.
Yeah, you killed them all.
Totally.
Yep.
But
Anyway,
we had a good time.
it was fun.
We didn't accomplish it.
It was the first one of the season.
It was.
We're knocking the rust off.
It's Cason's first time turkey hunting.
I know this goes over your head. I'm not stupid. I've worn this before. I know you do this. There's no hope. None whatsoever. I got it.
Oh yeah. Hit him with it. Wait, hit him with it. Hit him with it.
Getting the calls tuned up.
Yep. Tuned. Yeah. Whatever you were doing. I don't know if it was tuning, but I don't know. They're
It's your dog.
It's love.
it is.
That is love.
Should we introduce?
Hey, also, hey, we were supposed to introduce them. So,
Oh yeah.
can you
Which
see that?
one?
I don't know
Which
if you
one?
can see that.
Yeah.
Okay.
you-
That
Sit down.
the stupid
This
one
one.
is Casey's dog.
This is Gunner. Gunner, say hey. Hi guys. And then
Yeah, this is the useless one. Right.
And then this one's the
That's
retrieving
the
machine Dakota herself. I'm telling you,
special.
special breed.
But anyway,
This is their house.
Yeah.
This is their house.
Basically.
We just they allow.
It's
they allow us-
actually Coda's nicest trailer.
They allow. No, this is Gunner's trailer, and Coda comes. Look at that. I mean, how could she attack him in his own hizzle? Quit that! Y'all messing up my footage.
Your
All right,
face.
hey, can we go to the next segment?
Okay,
please?
next segment.
Oh,
Spiral.
We need to write this down. That way
we
keep
got
on
it.
track.
No, we have memories.
We
We're not
gotta-
losing our memories like old people like you are.
We gotta keep it on track. Anyway,
We can remember things. We talked about this 10 minutes ago,
anyway,
and you've already forgotten.
we planned these out
What were we
well in
talking about?
advance.
What's in the next segment? Well,
I think we were supposed to do a little bit of hating.
oh right. So Casey, we heard a story about Casey today. He was at a public place, and Casey, just tell us what happened.
Well, I was at said place. I was at said place, and my roommate was with me, and we were just hanging out, getting ready to leave. And as we were leaving, a younger individual mistaken me for her father. So it kind of caught me off guard because I was walking. I was walking out the door and
Oh, damn. Little girl looks over and says, "Hey, Daddy." I'm like, of course you're gonna be caught off guard. Like,
so
you don't have any children, do you?
no, I don't, and I'm 23. But I got mistaken for like a 40.
You look like you're 40.
I really don't.
It's starting to thin up there. It might be time to invest in the Rogaine. I'm just saying. Trying to help a brother out.
Hey.
Anyway, hey, speaking of dads.
Speaking
Hey,
of
our first
that,
special
Speaking
guest
of
celebrity.
dads, we have our very first celebrity guest on
Long
the
time
Trailer
coming.
Park Pod.
We
talked
actually
about this.
we actually sent shout out to Boeing for the jet.
Yeah.
We appreciate the donation. We actually sent the jet with our pilot to pick him up.
Our pilot.
Um,
Yep. It's
I would tell y'all where he's from, but then it'd give it away, so
Yeah.
we're not going to do that. But
Yeah.
we'll just say somewhere between Auburn and Houston, Texas is where he lives.
no. That's
It's-
not between.
It's between Auburn and Houston, somewhere in that vicinity.
I mean, if you're going all the way down to the coast,
That's what we're doing. We're doing that.
you could have said like between Orlando and New Orleans. Like, there's a much easier, like, we're traveling on a straight line here. We're not just like,
Well, the thing is,
Hey, you got to go down to Mobile.
I want to make sure.
I mean, yeah.
I don't want the viewers to know where he lives. We got to predict his identity.
Yeah, you're right. Well, he's already so famous.
That's a good point.
That,
That's true.
but I
Speaking
don't
of-
think people know where he's from. He's really trying to keep his identity.
But we
okay.
appreciate. We just hit what 300,000 subscribers this week.
350.
350.
We're growing, boys. I'm
It's
talking
about to pop off with the guest. But anyway,
Oh, yeah.
without further ado,
Without further ado, here we go.
the one and only.
Well, we just started, so. Anyways, here we are, our first celebrity guest.
It's nice to be here, guys. I enjoyed it. That flight in got a little turbulent right there toward the end, right before we touched down in this university village that we're at. But
I knew we should have got the better pilot.
Yeah.
but
Next
besides that, I appreciate it, and the accommodations have been great.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
the food.
They have
Never
the temperature at the
Never been.
right level when you
Yeah,
get on the plane.
I like 62.7.
Okay, it was there. It was
Yeah,
there. Okay, that's good.
At times it got down to 62.5, but hey, you know, I got a pretty wide tolerance.
We'll fire him.
3 or 4
Yeah, he's done.
We're sending a jet back to Boeing. We don't want.
Yeah. So
Unacceptable.
what I wanted to come in and just talk to y'all a little bit about, because as you viewers will probably recognize right off the bat that I'm just a couple 3 years older than most of y'all,
Especially one of them.
and that typically translates to wiser, but not in this case. But I was going to share with y'all a little bit about the history of turkey hunting.
Okay.
This is good. This is good.
Now, since I've been around since most of the beginning of turkey season, hunting, but as y'all know,
How many turkeys did Noah have on the ark?
well, they ate the first 7, but then they had 2 more. And them 2's the ones that propagated, but them first 7, and they might have had a dozen turkey eggs in reserve.
He's ready in case the turkey population drops.
Man,
He's got us taken care of.
yeah, when Mrs. Noah started scrambling up them turkey eggs, it was looking bleak for the future. But anyway, what I was going to tell y'all about, now, let me get back to the serious part.
Yeah.
Now y'all know that turkeys are only indigenous to the New World, and there was no turkeys anywhere else in the world. So the history of turkey hunting kind of confined to New World, and I did a little research to see how turkeys were hunted in the pre-Columbian era. Before Columbus came over to this part of the country, them turkeys were getting hunted.
He sailed Ocean Blue in
1492.
Yep. And when he got there, they was already hunting turkeys. But my research indicated that it was boys' work to hunt turkeys because there were vast flocks of turkeys that roosted in big giant flocks in big roost trees, in roosts in large numbers, and they were so numerous and so easy to kill that they sent little boys with their bows and arrows to just step up under them roost trees and pluck them out of there till they had all they needed, and that was what they really did. And so it was not even anything that was seen as a sport or even something that a man would fool with. And they passed that knowledge on to the pilgrims and such as they came in, and they would just go to roost trees where they're crowded with turkeys, and they just get all they want.
Putting supper on the table.
And it did not become a sport probably until around 1930s or 40s, something in that time frame. My great granddaddy hunted turkeys starting about 1900, but his turkey hunting involved something very similar to what I described earlier. Going to the nearest roost tree, not worried about what kind of bird was up there or whether it had a beard or spurs or any of that, and rolling one out and cleaning it for the pot, and that was the end of it. I mean, there was no turkey hunting going on.
What my all used to say?
Yeah, my grandmother said hens actually tasted better than gobblers. She said, why in the world you feel got all that extra effort going there? But the problem with that was they killed every turkey in this part of the world down to where the population was just slightly north of zero. So when the conservation effort came in and then turkeys started repopulating the United States, finally folks started to hunt them a little bit. And there's when the sport finally started to come in. It was separated from collecting food to actually having sport. And my family, other than my great granddaddy hunting them, didn't have much of a tradition to pass on because it wasn't done in sport. But I had a great uncle that was a game warden, and he actually got into sport hunting a little bit as they started recovering back in the 40s. And then he taught his son to turkey hunt after he graduated vet school at Auburn University. That's that school over in Alabama. Y'all heard of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, he graduated
The good
from there.
one on the east
side. And then that guy was my dad's first cousin, an older first cousin. He taught my dad how to turkey hunt. So that's how my dad learned to turkey hunt. And then my dad, of course, passed it down to me. Now, back when they first started turkey hunting too, it wasn't all these turkey calls, no lines of turkey calls and all that kind of stuff. You might had to invent it as you go, and y'all probably heard of wing bone. That was something that was developed but
Tasting
well, they actually use a turkey wing bone to make a little device to kind of suck on it to make a squeaking noise like a hen.
Yeah, you'll learn. You gotta dumb things down.
Well, anyway,
I
I had another great uncle that he would just find a certain kind of leaf on a certain, I think it was a persimmon tree, and he'd just pull a leaf off and throw it in his mouth and work it around there, and then he'd say, and go to work in it. I know several folks that just with their mouth can actually do some good. Y'all probably heard.
I'm pretty good at that.
Yeah, Jason's one of those few.
The video.
Yeah. So anyway, all of that started getting developed throughout the 40s, 50s, 60s. Old box collar developed commercially, probably not until the 70s, maybe the late 60s. But
that's when Casey was born.
And my dad had the first mouth collar I ever seen, but it was made out of a piece of sheet lead, and he cut out a little horseshoe out of that sheet of lead, folded it over, and he had to find a thin latex product to put in that thing to put in his mouth. until I was a grown man, I did not realize what that pen latex product was. But he used that for a call, and then probably having lead in your mouth for extended periods of time was probably not good for your long-term brain health. But that's what he hunted with. That's what he. Fortunately, he already had children at the time. So if y'all go that route, well, anyway, let's move on. Well, that was what I came up with, and then a box call, the first commercial one that I saw at the hardware store, I bought one, and that's what I started using all along. So turkey hunting doesn't have this long, glamorous history like a lot of other things. Even deer hunting, by comparison, is a lot longer. But back when we started, or when I first started as a kid, when my dad was hunting, turkey hunting wasn't popular. And if y'all read the 10th Legion by Tom Kelly, y'all ever read that? For y'all reading edification at some point in your career, if you're interested in turkey hunting, pull it out and read it. But he goes into about how different deer hunters were from turkey hunters, just a whole different animal. And there was only just a few turkey hunters around, and it wasn't a popular sport because it was difficult, and it was mostly done by loners and guys that really knew the woods very well. You couldn't just get together 20 of your buddies and a few dogs and kind of string them out in the woods and run the dogs through and then go to blasting everything and divide the meat up. He said that was all barbaric by comparison. That was hitting it with a big hammer, and he had a precision scaffold hunting turkeys, and that was a lot of truth. It was not a popular thing, and hardly anybody knew how to do it by comparison. And it didn't become trendy until maybe the late 80s was when it started getting a little bit trendy, and then a lot of folks started getting into it, and then it was like, now we all gonna be turkey hunters, whether we really do it or not. And it's like, yeah, I'm a turkey hunter, but I don't get up early in the morning and I don't do all that kind of stuff. So it was probably the dog. So let's move on. So anyway, I was just gonna give you a little bit of background on all that, and where I got involved with turkey hunting was with my dad on family property. And even back in the 60s, we had turkeys because we always had turkeys on that family property from well back. They never were completely hunted out too. But they were few and far between back in the 60s. And turkey hunting then involved getting in the old family station wagon and riding around the property all morning listening. So I don't remember as a 6-year-old or 8-year-old, I don't ever remember getting on a turkey at that phase. But in the 70s, the turkey population started growing pretty heavily, and we actually got on some turkeys. And then I learned to hunt a little bit with my dad. And unfortunately, though, after just a couple, 3 years of hunting around him, I figured I knew enough, so I just kind of went out on my own. He was like, well, there's plenty of turkeys, so you just go that way and I'll go that way. And I didn't learn a whole lot until years later when I finally learned that I knew nothing at all about turkey hunting. And I got back with him probably when I was in my late 20s and spent several years hunting with him, just sitting right next to him at the base of a tree and talking each other out of making dumb moves and talking through the hunt and enjoying it together. So at this point, I was going to share with y'all just a little bit about one of those hunts sitting there with my dad hunting. And the turkeys we got down there, as I was telling one of our esteemed colleagues this morning, we call them swamp turkeys because they just lived in the swamp and they love to wade water. But anyway, one particular morning we were going back for our 4th consecutive trip for this old gobbler that had whooped us 4 mornings in a row. And on the 4th morning,
it was personal.
We done got to the point where it was like, every morning he'd gobble out in the middle of this big swamp that was almost impenetrable from the hillside because it had such thick vegetation on the side of the hill. You almost had to crawl to get into the swamp. And then when you got in there, you had to wade water that was just below the top of your rubber boot unless you stepped in a little bit of a hole, and then it'd fill up your rubber boot, but that's another story. So after hunting for 4 mornings, every morning he would fly down in his lek. Y'all know what a lek is?
Like ice cream?
L-E-K. L-E-K. It's a gobbling area. And turkeys establish them a little gobbling area, And it's a real term. Y'all look it up on your spare
Hey, you
time.
put that as a check mark for all three. Yeah, that's good. I didn't know that.
So he would fly down on the edge of his lake out there. It was just a little opening out in that swamp that he liked to gobble in and go back and forth. And you couldn't get to it. And he'd get into it and go back and forth, and he wouldn't come to you no matter what you said, what you did. So on that fourth morning, we said, we're going extra early and we're going to do some wading. And we waded up the run of that branch until we got to the edge of that lick. Finally, we was right on it. After 3 mornings in a row, he stayed right there. So fourth morning, we was right on the edge of it. And just after daylight, he gobbled. He was out there on the other side of it, just like we thought. Gobbled a few times. We was like, we and the cat daddies eat this morning. We ready? We go. And we're standing in a run out in that branch, watered up to almost our knees. Both of us standing in that branch out there. And it got daylight, and a little bit, we heard, and he flew down, hit the ground out there somewhere. I was looking.
Did he gobble on the roof?
Yeah, he gobbled on the roof a few times, so we knew he was there. But when he hit the ground, we didn't know where he was. He was just looking in that swamp, just staring. A little bit, I saw a turkey head out there. And I said, And it was there. I said, is that him? He said, I don't know. And by the time he gobbled, I was looking at him when he gobbled. I said, yeah, that's him. So I had old Brian with me, and I said, that's a long ways, but he ain't gonna get no closer. And back in the old days, we was talking about guns performance. I didn't know it as far as he was, but I killed him at 45 steps, and that was the outer limit. I was thinking that he was maybe 35, 40 steps. 45 was, in our book, it was too far, way too far. But I shot him and killed him. He had an 11-inch beard. He had spurs that were so old that they were shaped like an axe blade. They were worn off, and they were just sharp with a blade instead of coming out to a point.
Wow. Holy cow.
And worn down. He was old as could be. Anyway, when I shot him, he fell over in one of the runs of the branch, and he was sopping wet. I picked him up and he just looked like a wet rat. Rough looking, but I was still proud of him. I could see that beard. I was like, dang, 11-inch beard.
Yeah.
That's a fine turkey. And I said, look at here, Dad. And I was showing him my fine turkey. He said, let's go. I said, what do you mean? He said, I hear one. And he pointed, he said, I hear one back up toward the old gym place up there. He said, and where we were hunting was called Rattlesnake Branch. He said, let's get out of Rattlesnake Branch and let's head toward the gym
The
place.
legend of Rattlesnake.
So I didn't even get to enjoy my turkey like Jim Hody does, or whatever the guy's name is.
Dave.
Shout out to whoever that guy is. I didn't get to smoke no cigar and sit there at the base of a tree and video myself. I had to grab that little wet turkey and run toward the truck just as fast as I could. When we got up to the truck, we ran around there to the gym place, got out of the vehicle, and I done killed my turkey. And the fast rule was that it was his turn. You heard a little bit about that. It was his turn. It wasn't my turn. So I done took off my camo shirt and everything, and I had a big red plaid shirt on. And I said, I'm gonna go here across the road and just sit on the bank of the road, and I'm gonna call a little bit. But he was somewhere right in there. But I sat on the bank of the road over there. Didn't even have a gun with me. I just left it in the truck over there. I hit the old box and just right down under the ridge right there. And my dad had just eased down under the ridge, so he was facing down there. So my dad's about 40 steps from me out there. And turkey was on beyond him. Well, I waited just a few minutes and I hit the call again. Yeah! And I said, where is he at? I couldn't see him and everything. And a little bit, I got to looking at that joker done eased around here about 30 steps right in front of me, just across that road there. And I'm sitting on the bank of the road with a big old red shirt on and no gun and a call in my lap. And as I'm looking at the turkey right there, out of the corner of my eye, I can see my dad over there, and he done realized that the turkey's right here, and he's turning. And as he's turning, that turkey's getting nervous. He's like, something ain't right here. Big guy with a red plaid shirt on sitting there. And my dad turning, and finally got turned on, and boom, and killed him right in front of me right there from over where he was. So we call that doubling up. It ain't the doubling up Nowadays it was 2 in one day for us, so we both killed one. We did that several times. So that's one of my good memories.
Yeah.
Learning to turkey hunt with Dad. I got about 1,000 more stories, but we won't share but 999 on tonight. I've got plenty of time. No, we're gonna move.
Some
on.
of us have been up
Yeah.
for quite some
We're gonna
time.
move on. It's been a long, long day, but let me get out my Bible. And I've done graduated up in the world. I got this thing called an electronic device. And
Smartphone.
it's got a Bible just built right into it. I know that's something that y'all ain't never heard of. No. And what I wanted to talk just a little bit about, if we at that point in the segment, y'all good with it?
Go ahead.
Y'all good with it? We just kind of ease right on into that. Where I was going with this was thinking about a scout or a guide a little bit. And I got to thinking about wagon trains in the past, what they'd do with a scout. They'd send him on out on his horse, on up ahead, and the wagon train heading west couldn't travel but maybe about 10 miles a day. But the guy on the horse, he could make a 30-mile circuit out there and come back. And even though they might generally know what's on the trail ahead, generally, they didn't know the local conditions or the conditions right then. They might know that on the map it had a X for a water hole up there. They had no idea whether it was dried up or whether there was a few dead buffalo laying in it. You know, they didn't have current intel. And for us, you know, when we think about scouting for hunting or whatever, we think about going ahead of time to a location and kind of getting a download on how the lay of the land is, maybe signs for turkeys, and kind of figuring it out, doing our scouting. And it made me think a little bit about God saying, guys, I'm gonna go before you, and He's gonna be our scout. Now, what that involves is that He knows what He's working on, and He's already ahead, He's behind, and He's right now. He's seeing the whole big picture, but we don't know, and it involves us having to have faith that He's gone before and that He's worked things out, and He sees the big picture. And I like to look back in Scripture and get some reference on that of what it looked like in the real world, because you can hear it, you can just kind of hear it, and then you can say, what does that mean, or how does that work? And what I dug into just a little bit, a real familiar passage about Saul and his conversion there on the Damascus Road. And we know that part of it. That's the part that's pretty common to folks. You know, if you ask folks, a lot of folks are like, yeah, I've heard about him being converted, going to Damascus. And the part I like right there at the beginning of that chapter, it says, but Saul, yet breathing threatening and slaughter against the disciples of the Lord, went unto the high priest and asked for letters to Damascus, that if he found any that were of the way, whether man or woman, he might bring them bound to Jerusalem. He wasn't playing. He was serious about what he was doing. But then he had his conversion experience. He met Jesus there on the road, and it changed him. But the part I wanted to focus on with this is not Saul. Saul was going through what Saul was going through, but there was another player to this situation. A poor guy named Ananias. It says, let me get to my right part here. Cause now there was a certain disciple at Damascus named Ananias. And so he was a disciple of Christ. And the Lord said to him in a vision, Ananias, and he said, I am here, Lord. And the Lord said unto him, arise and go into the street which is called Straight, and inquire at the house of Judas for one named Saul. And that was about all he needed to say. And Ananias said, say what? And trying to translate it to today's terms with us, what kind of faith does it take when we're asked to do something that is like, And it's Ananias, he did something that was natural. He asked God about it a little bit. Actually, he kind of said, God, you do know who this guy is. which is how we're kind of silly sometimes with our questioning of God or what He wants us to do by asking Him, don't you realize something? Not thinking how silly it is for us to even bring it up. And God's like, yeah, I know who He is. But He went on, and I went on to remind him how he had heard this man, how evil he was, and what he had done to the saints in Jerusalem, and how rough he was. And God just said, it says, but the Lord said to him, go thy way, for he is a chosen vessel of me. Go and do what I said do. Mm-hmm. Now, Ananias didn't have to go. He didn't have to. But to put faith to something God asked you to do is tough. And particularly if you can't have faith that God has scouted out the situation and He knows the big picture and He got it. Mm. He knew what Saul was going through. Saul was blind at that point in that house, and had been fasting for 3 days and was looking for a man named Ananias that was going to come knock on the door. Yeah. God had prepared the way. And Ananias, all he had to do was just do.
Yeah.
And I think about it, that's far I get into that, but I think about it with us often. God will impress on the heart to speak to somebody or to just spend time with somebody. And a lot of times we want to remind God, don't you know who that is? Or how hard his heart is? Or he ain't got time for me, or he don't want to hear that. But we don't think that God has already been before and prepared the way and taken care of it. And He's working on something that we have no idea what's going on with. And if we'll go ahead and be faithful, have faith and step out to do that thing we've been asked to do, often, I should never be shocked, but often I find myself being shocked that, God's already been working on that guy, already softened that heart, already prepared him to hear. And a lot of times that guy will be like, I've been waiting on you to bring this up. Mm-hmm. And so us knowing that, we just need to live it. We just need to live it. And I like that example. And we're big on scouting things out and us knowing from our perspective, but knowing that God's gone before and He sees the whole picture and He's got it. Even if it's not what we want, all we gotta do is just step out on faith and do what He asks us to do. And He asks obedience. That's all He's asking for. So that's my word for the evening. Yeah. And I appreciate you young men inviting me to sit in with y'all on this super duper podcast. And hope to be back someday.
Absolutely.
We'll have to get you back. Yeah. Have to.
Best of luck hunting too.
All right, and it's past my bedtime.
You know what?
It's past my bedtime.
You know what? Since you came on the podcast, we're gonna put you on a all expenses trip paid hunt with one of our guides here. He's gonna take you.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'll take care of it.
That's all right. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Actually, and we'll get him some merch.
We'll give him some merch.
We'll get him some free merch.
That's good.
Just for
You
coming
need my
on.
turkey hunting shoes here.
We'll take care of you. We'll get you back down there between Auburn and Houston, wherever you're from.
We'll send you back.
Is
Hey,
that
we'll
is
try-
that somewhere along the coast, kind of between here and Houston? Or is that between Orlando and New Orleans? I ain't real sure.
Well, I
I'm
don't
confused by where I'm from now.
We'll make sure that plane is 67.3 on your way back.
No, 62.
67. Oh my bad. I'm already
way too
messing it
hot.
up.
I'd be sweating down at 67 degrees.
He'd never come back.
No, y'all couldn't.
We gotta take care of
But
this.
But
We'll get our secretary.
Tolerance like today, that was good.
We'll get our secretary.
Appreciate it, gentlemen.
Absolutely.
And thank you for y'all time. This has been really great.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Well,
I think enough said.
that's about all there is to be said.
Be done with it.
We're out.
All right.
See ya.